Good morning, folks. Happy Saturday morning. I'm here. I'm going to go over some of the things I'm going to be planting this year. I've got some marigolds. I got a couple more spots over there in my cement garden that I'm going to plant these. I've got some sweet corn that I'm going to be planting. I got my cucumbers. I'm going to be planting those. I've got my mammoth sunflowers. I'm going to plant a couple of these. I got my Roma tomatoes. I'm going to be planting, I think 9 of these. I've got my cabbage seeds. That's going to go back there in that far raised bed back there. I got my beefsteak, sugar steak, whatever. They're hybrids, but more tomatoes. I got some peas. The peas are going to go back in the fourth garden back. I got some kale. The kale is going to go over here in this garden. More cabbage seeds. I got that front bed right here that these are going to go in. They're different cabbage, by the way. Got more cucumbers. More Romas. Got some lettuce. I've already planted some lettuce, but I'm going to plant a little bit more. And then this year I decided to do some flowers. So I'm going to plant some morning glories. I'm going to plant those along the edge of the garden there. I think that would look good. And I got some nasturtium. They're flowers, okay? So I'm going to plant some of those too. I think they're going to look pretty. And then I got some more lettuce and salad green mixed heirloom seeds I'm going to be planting today. So one of the things that people talk about when they're talking about their gardens is they talk about, well, how do you know what plant is what, and you know, what's the easy way to do it instead of having to get little stakes and write it on the stakes and then they fade. Well, this is what I don't know if you noticed, but these 2-liter bottles are all different colors. Okay? So, the Dr. Pepper Zero bottles, those are going to be my Romas. The Diet Dr. Pepper bottles are going to be my beefsteaks, the hybrid beefsteaks. The green bottles are going to be my cucumbers. This orange bottle right here, I'm probably going to plant a cabbage seed in there and see how it does, because when I plant it directly in the beds, they don't do too well. So, right? These two right here, they're different. They're going to be my peas. So I only need 2 or 3 plants. The bottom row here is going to be corn. This here is going to be probably yellow squash. I think I have some yellow squash. And then the top 2 here are probably going to be my mammoth sunflowers. I'm going to start them off in the pot and then put them in the ground. I only need 2 of those because they get huge. Give you an idea, last year, if you look down here, it's about 3 feet above the ground. And last year they got about 6 feet above the railing on the porch. So they got pretty freaking tall last year. So I only need to plant 2 of those. And I'm going to be planting those along the fence line over here. Close to the garlic, because they seem to do well with the garlic. So busy day, you know. Now let's talk about some things happening in the news. As I'm sure you've probably already heard about the bridge in Baltimore, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which collapsed due to the container ship by the name of Dolly running into it. And those of us who have run the ports for a while, we have some questions, right? We have a couple questions. I'm sure a lot of you have questions. One of the questions I have is, where was the tugboats? Because with a boat that big, it's supposed to have, at a minimum, 2 to 4 tugboats and a pilot boat, especially in a narrow channel like that. Second question. Here's the second question. Why didn't they, since they say that they were screaming for an hour, that they had no control of the ship, why did they not drop anchor? That is an emergency procedure that these big ships are supposed to do immediately when they run into an issue. They are supposed to drop anchor. Why wasn't that procedure followed? Third question. Why wasn't the support on the bridge, why didn't it have what overseas they call dolphin barriers? And basically what that is a cement barrier around the support, so that if a boat such as a small boat or even a bigger boat is running into the pylon, that they run into that and damage that, and they don't hit the actual support of the bridge. Why wasn't that installed? I understand that the bridge is old, but that's an upgrade that most places that have a lot of boat traffic are doing. So kind of like a bumper stop, right? Like if you have bumper cars, it's like a big bumper stop. Why wasn't that installed? The fourth question I have is, we know that the pilot, the actual captain of the boat, we know that in 2016 he backed that boat into a pier and did a lot of damage there. Why was he still captain? That's another question I have. And the fifth question I have is, you know, with everything going on, why, and we know this was a strategic bridge, because there are amphibious vehicles which are stored there for the Navy and you know, things of this nature. So it's really a strategic bridge. Why wasn't there like any type of response to the calls from the bridge? The last question I have, which I'm not in maritime, I don't know how the insurance works from country to country, but I know that the boats are supposed to have some kind of insurance on them, especially if they're traversing U.S. waters. And U.S. waters extend out from the United States a certain amount of space. Why isn't that insurance company being hit for the damage to this bridge, instead of our government saying that they're going to take our money, taxpayers, to pay for that bridge? Why, here's another question, why within less than an hour after this incident occurred, why was the government coming out and saying it was not a terrorist attack? That immediately throws red flags to me. It just does. So, I have questions. Those are my questions. I'm sure y'all have some too. But it just, to me, this just really, if this is indicative of how the boats are coming in and out of that Baltimore port, that's a breakdown in the safety department of the port and of that channel, that maritime channel. and that needs to be addressed. I believe that, okay? If it was an accident. If it was an actual planned event, that needs to be addressed. Why wasn't the alphabet agencies, why weren't they aware of this event occurring? Okay, that's a breakdown of intelligence right there. So those are my questions. If it was an actual hack of the boat, which we know that those big container ships, they have a lot of electronics. They also have many safety backups. Why did all of that fail? If this was an accident, why did all of that fail? Was it just inexperience on the harbor pilots? Because we know on a big ship like that, they have 2 harbor pilots in the boathouse. Was it just inexperience by them? Or was it a breakdown in language communications? Because we know these boats coming in, they speak different languages from English. Was that an issue? So some of these need to be addressed. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that we, the regular public, are ever going to know the full story, because we weren't there, we didn't see what happened. I don't think we're ever going to get the full story on this. But there are several issues that I find concerning, and I think that every U.S. citizen out there should find concerning. I think, as my personal opinion, I think that the boat was going exceptionally too fast for such a narrow channel. Okay, that's my personal opinion. I might be wrong. I'm not, like I said, I'm not in maritime. I just drive a truck. But today is a beautiful day. It's nice and sunny. The bees are all out all over my blueberries right now. They're having a field day, the little bumblebees. And we're going to enjoy this day. So even though we have questions, it's not going to stop me from enjoying the time that God has given us. And this is Easter weekend, so I wanted to say happy Resurrection Sunday to everyone who's a Christian out there. To all of those who are not Christian, happy Easter. And that's all I have for you today. I mean, as you can see, I'm getting busy doing what I got to do, and getting my garden mapped out and getting it planted. And I hope that little tip on how to use different bottles for different plants and stuff works for you. And with that, I'm gonna let y'all go. Bicycle.